folks, and welcome to Kelly's Chronicles, my channel where we sit down with people that have lived extraordinary lives and they are living behind quiet, normal existences. Here we believe that those lives need to be celebrated and need to be acknowledged and need to be talked about as to not be forgotten by the passage of time. I hope everyone had a wonderful week this week. It's a little bit of a different setup for me today because my computer got a Trojan virus, so I'm trying to kind of combat that this week, and hopefully I'll be able to get back everything that I lost. But a little bit of a tragedy in my life, but I'm slowly getting through it. It's been a little bit rough. It's been rough losing my pictures and whatnot, but hopefully we'll be able to find somebody that can recover those things. But other than that, how was your week, Dad?
Well, before we go any further, I would like to say you look marvelous, darling.
Oh, thank you, Father. Thank you. And you do have an announcement to make, and I'll let you make that announcement.
Okay, and this is in regards to my other children. Is that right?
Yes, you're specifically your youngest daughter.
My youngest daughter, young Amy, is pregnant. I'm going to be a grandfather. She's due in September. She's already got it sexed. It's a male. It has a name already. I mean, come on, do this in order. No, not Amy. She's already yeah, there's no gender reveal for her. It's boom.
That's not
Here
what she
is. Yeah, it's gonna be a Frederick. So he's gonna be a little Freddy. So he can join the E club of Olsen. So he can be Freddy.
He can be a Freddy.
Like Billy and Amy and Vicky and Kelly, all the Emily and Jackie. We're all E. The Y, we call him the Y guy, and then Y, the letter Y guy. Yeah, we're all wise guys. So Freddie will join the wise guys.
Yes, we are ecstatic to have the newest member of the family join us. Babies always bring families together, and this is my mom's first grandbaby. She's very excited.
She is. I'm gonna have to tie her down and keep her out of California. I'll tell you.
I know. You're like, no.
Every day we'll wake up. We're going to California today, right?
Right.
No, we're not. We have responsibilities here. No, I'm going to California.
Yeah,
but
the whole family.
I like to see that excitement. That grandma excitement is just incredible. I'm the oldest grandchild of my generation, and so I saw that in my grandmother, and how excited she was to have me around and to be your grandson. So
exciting. We're all over here celebrating. I'm bragging to all my friends. I'm going to be a new auntie, and my sisters. She's gonna have a baby. I've already got plans. I got all this stuff I want to buy them, and I got people already on it for making quilts. I got the quilt team, the blanket crocheting team already. They're like, "What colors can I?" I'm already on it. We're on it.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy, but it's always when the next generation arrives, it's always special.
So special.
It gives everybody a feeling of continuation and validation of life. And why am I here? Well, you're here to welcome the next generation, either as a parent or as kin, because kin is kin, blood is blood.
That's right, blood is blood.
Well, you're just an aunt. No, you're a freaking aunt, and you can. Yet it's very important. It is. I mean, that's part of because you get like in Appalachian, the Ozarks, and places that. I mean, that's all. It's all about kin. Like in Italy, Mexico, it's all about kin and blood, and they really, as long as it's family, it's really not what your relation, but you are family. Period. Your blood. and that's everything.
It is.
That's how nations are built, is on those ruling families. And
Yep.
yeah, it's just you look at like England and way the
Boy.
like Queen Elizabeth died. Queen Elizabeth died, and King Chuck took her place.
That's right. Exactly.
Eh,
Amy's, of course, our family's Swedish, and her husband is Norwegian. His family originates from
yeah,
Norway. So they picked a very strong Scandinavian name, which is Frederick, and
yeah,
he told me that a lot of the kings were named Fredericks. That
right,
is perfect. It really goes with who they are, and they're
yeah,
they're bringing a child into this world, and it's going to be who he is. So
yeah,
it's very exciting. It's the best time ever, and be more happy. So
yeah.
congratulations, Grandpa and Grandma. I'm sure she's in the background.
Yeah, she's over
But
here eating breakfast.
that's right. So it's an exciting time. It's really exciting. So well, that's some good news. Anything else happening in your lives? I know y'all got
Well,
back safely from visiting us over here, and
right. Well, Mom's got to have. She's gonna have surgery on Thursday on her foot. She
yes.
has. She has some what they call heel spurs, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not on her heel and they're not spurs. No, they're just little bones. Mom said bone spurs, not
Bones were
necessarily
yes.
heel spurs, but bone spurs. Not
Spurs.
they're on the top of her foot, and she's gonna have to have surgery. And they already got her fitted for a boot, where she'll be wearing a boot, and she'll be
Mm-hmm.
hobbling around here. Luckily, that we have uh, Aunt Joyce here to do most of the heavy lifting. Uh, I'm kind of a novice when it comes to animals, so
Well, true,
yeah,
true,
I
but that's
could
what
do
life's
it.
all about.
But
In
yeah,
sickness and in health, in surgery and in not surgery. Gotta take care of her.
that's right.
That's right.
In sickness and health,
That's right.
that's right.
To feed
Richer
the
or poorer.
animals and to tend to the crops
Yep.
of the small
Go out and hoe the
Lava Hot
go out and hoe
Springs
the cotton. Yeah.
garden. That's right. Go out.
Hoe the elderberries.
The elderberries. I was like, you guys aren't growing cotton up there. You're growing elderberries. Mom will just sit on the porch and point her finger. Mend
And
those.
it's
Mend those.
sip,
I'm glad she's getting
no,
that taken care of because I know it's been hurting her for quite some time. So that's really good that she's getting that taken care of.
yep.
So let's roll back into where we left off. But before we do, Dad, you had said that you have Georgia stories that you remembered. We always say on this channel, we can roll back time and go back to when we previously talked about, and then we
Hmm.
try not to go too much into the future, but we definitely like to roll backwards and pick up some fun stories that we remember. So, Dad, you said you had some stories that you wanted to tell.
If
Okay.
one thing I wanted to go over was the wasp nest over the church door. There was probably about 5 miles from where I lived. There was a little Baptist church called Cat Creek Baptist Church,
Okay.
and I would occasionally go there with my friends. There were a lot of my friends were just farm boys and all Baptists and everything, so I'd go there. One Sunday, I was over there at Cat Creek Baptist Church, and they had Sunday school first. I think I went to Sunday school, and then all us guys were out and messed around and out around the church and everything. And this one boy looks up at the very peak of the gable end on the church, and there's a big wasp nest up there.
Ooh.
And he said, I never noticed that before. You noticed that? And I said, yeah, I think I've seen it. I'm paying no attention to it. Yeah, I mean, it's way up there, about feet off the ground,
Yeah.
right over the front door. And he says, I wonder if I would take a dirt clot. I mean, down there, all the roads were dirt. So there was mud and dirt, what they call dirt clods, which was like a big piece of clay from the road. He said, you think if I throw this dirt clod up there, I could hit that wasp in? I said, I don't know, maybe. And so he goes over and picks up a nice sized dirt clod, and he throws it up there, and he missed, and dirt clod fell down from the door. Didn't register with him what would happen if he was successful. And threw 2 or 3 more dirt clods, and he hit the nest, and it broke loose and fell down in front of the church door. And the
Oh,
church door was hot. It was summertime. All the doors and windows were open. And that church, they didn't have air conditioning. And it hit the ground. Those wasps come out of that nest, and he went right in the church. And people were screaming and hollering and running around and jumping out of windows and running out the doors. Oh, the
my
women were upset.
God.
The men were cussing and they seen who did it. I mean, it was like 2 and 2 together. That just didn't fall down by itself. And he saw the dirt clods laying in front of the door. And boy, they one guy snatched this kid up, this friend of mine, and his dad was in church, and his dad just started wailing on him, and yeah, it was not pretty, but everybody got out alive. Few people got stung, but that was crazy. And Cat Creek, I'll tell you something about Cat Creek. Cat Creek, those streams in Georgia were it was all clay or sand, and
Yeah.
most of the rivers in clay. I guess they went down through the sand into the clay layer, and the banks were real steep, and the creek was down about 10 feet or 15 feet in some places below the level of the ground around here with these steep clay banks. So I would fish in Cat Creek, but I had to go down, had to get off my bicycle and walk down the creek and find a place where another creek had come in and it formed a little sandbar, and then you could stand on the sandbar and fish. And
Hmm.
that was my only fishing hole that I would go to, because every place
Okay.
else around there was full of alligators and snakes and everything. Cat Creek was pretty civilized. You could go there and fish and not worried about getting eaten or bitten. So, and then there was this one at that little school I went to, the Pine Grove Elementary.
Mm-hmm.
The whole school was surrounded by gallberry bushes, and that's where a lot of the honey that I remember I talked about being a beekeeper for Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Ham. He had the beehives, and all the gallberry bush had hundreds of little blooms, and the bees just loved them. And this whole school was surrounded by gallberry bushes. I don't know why, but they were, and they were tall. They were like 10, 12 feet high, up
Wow.
to, because the school was built, it was like almost like 2 stories, but there's nothing on
Okay.
the first floor, just the basement, and all the classrooms are on this second floor, and the bushes grew up to the bottom of the windows of the classrooms. That's so 10, 12 feet high. And one day we were in there sitting in the classroom, and this what a puff adder, which is just usually a very small snake. They
Yeah.
only get about 2 feet long, and when you mess with them, they
Like,
swell their heads up
yeah.
to look bigger, and they call them puff adders. They puff their head up, kind of like a cobra. And
Yeah.
this puff
Okay.
adder had gotten up in this gallberry bush, and he was just outside the window, and this one kid in the back of the room reached over there and grabbed that snake, and he goes, "Oh, look what I got out of that there gallberry bush." He got
Oh
this
my
snake in his
God.
hand.
Yeah.
Man, everybody went ballistic. The girls all ran out of the room, and the guys were laughing. The teacher says, put that down right now." It was crazy. And he threw it back out in the bush, and it saved his life because he was
Oh
about
my
ready to get
God.
killed. And that was pretty common. There was just snakes everywhere in Georgia. There was not just There was not just rattlesnakes and water moccasins. There was all kinds of other like puff adders, and they call hoop snakes, which they claim would grab a hold of their tail and roll down a hill. And they had a lot of indigo snakes, which were they were a nice snake. They're huge. There was some indigo snakes are 8, 10 feet long,
Wow.
and they ate other
Never,
snakes.
never heard of that.
And there were
Indigo snake.
king snakes were prevalent there too, and there were some coral snakes, are deadly poisonous,
Yeah.
and so there was just snakes that was just like common. And
Mm.
there was one woman who was a native of the area. Her husband was in the Air Force, but she had grown up there, and she was out one day and behind her house, and she had retired there. The guy retired from the Air Force, and she was living there in Valdosta, and she went out in the back porch, and there was she had a big pot out there in the back deck, and she was gonna put some dirt in it or something and grow some flowers or something. Anyway, she reached down to pick up the pot, and she stopped. She just said, "I don't know why, but I stopped and looked into the pot, and there's a rattlesnake in there, coiled up in there, ready to strike." And she said, "I don't know why it didn't buzz at me. Usually they'll buzz at you, and in their rattlesnakey way." And she said he was nasty. He wasn't going to buzz. He going to bite me. But she saw him first, and didn't go any further toward the pot. And that was common. There was snakes everywhere, and
All
you just
over.
had to realize that, and you just go out and like mess around, start turning over rocks or something, because they were gonna. They just learn to live. You learn to live with them. Yeah, we used to the gallberry bushes around. We used to play hide and seek in the gallberry bushes around the school. That was pretty fun. Uh, so that was just, and we had playground. And I've got pictures of the playground somewhere, and they were the swing set. The top bar of the swing set was about 12 feet off the ground,
Okay.
and so you could get on that swing, and you could get going pretty good. If you've ever been on a swing, you know how to
Yeah.
work your legs and get some. You could be like 10 feet off the ground at the top of your arc. A lot of guys jumping out. There's always guys getting broken ankles and
Of course.
sprains and
Yeah.
bruises and everything just playing. And then they had these big teeter totters, and
Oh yeah.
the middle bar was about 4 feet high, and the teeter totter itself was probably 15 feet long. And you get on the end of that thing, and the you would the one side would go down, and you would be like 7, 8 feet in the air, and then they would jump off, and you'd go down, and boom,
Oh.
guys
Oh.
get guys getting
Yeah.
like broken feet, broken ankles all the time. And then there's a giant slide, and the slide had, I'm not kidding you, it had about 15 steps going up to was probably 20 feet long. Kids were expendable back in those days.
Yeah.
Now they go, oh, that's too dangerous. Back then, I was like, yeah, okay, that's where we played.
Yep.
We didn't have any kind of organized sports. You just had to kind of. We didn't even have balls. They didn't even issue us balls or anything. So you just had to go out and run around and play tag or whatever. And down in one corner of this probably, I'd say probably 5 acres of this playground, and it was a row of pine trees down each side, and way down in the corner where there's a road that came from the main road up to the school, and then there was a corner of the schoolyard down, I guess in the the southwestern corner of the playground. There was an open creosote pit. This is where they would go put telephone poles and this tar substance
Oh
called
my God.
creosote, and it was, I mean, deadly poison. If you fell in that and you
That.
even breathe a ounce of it, you'd be dead. And here's this open pit, and I don't remember even being a fence around it. And it just this open pit, and they had these telephone poles in there soaking in this creosote, and all these kids playing around. I'm going. Even then, it was like, whoa, that looks weird, dangerous. I don't go around there.
Danger. Danger.
And now it would be totally. They would shut the whole school down and come in with the EPA and
I
Coast
know.
Guard and everything would be down there
Coming on
getting
ropes,
all this creosote out and screaming and running around like wild men. And back then it was like, so what? It's a creosote pit.
Whatever.
Don't jump in the creosote pit. Yeah, it was a different world that we lived in with the danger, the killer slides and playground equipment in addition to the creosote pit. It was like just a different world that we lived in back in those days. Yeah, and it was, but you didn't hear about kids dying and getting run over and everything. I guess it was ingrained to avoid danger.
Yes.
You don't
Very
you
much
don't go
so.
around, you don't poking on a rattlesnake with a stick or anything. You didn't do that.
Nope.
And now it would they just would forbid it, and they would have federal regulations and everything about it. And now it's a different world.
It
Anyway,
was a different
yeah.
world.
So
I mean, even when I was a
yeah,
kid, we had really dangerous playground equipment that was left over from when you were a kid. And I remember grandma taking me to the park. I even remember playing in the park, and sometimes I'd get injured pretty bad, especially on those teeter totters. If you've ever been knocked in the groin with a teeter totter, a metal steel teeter totter, you'll definitely see your life flash before your eyes.
yeah,
Collapse in agonizing pain.
yeah. It's like, did you need stitches? Well,
You,
you're okay.
yeah,
You don't need
you're
stitches.
fine.
Yeah,
Like you never forget those injuries. I still have very distinct memories of really horrible injuries that I received when I was on the playground. You know, some kid being a jerk.
yeah,
So yeah, I remember those. Yeah, that's
yeah. And
different times.
we're getting back since we're back in Georgia.
So, one of the questions that I found that I thought would be really fun to go over was, since we're talking about school, was who was your favorite teacher and why did they stand out? Why do they stand out to you now? Why did they stand out to you back then?
Are you talking about the entire school experience or just
Yeah,
Arkansas or what?
no, just your whole entire career of school
Okay.
minus
Well,
college. Who was your
the
favorite
one that
teacher?
really stands out is Mrs. Cornish, and
Okay,
she was my first grade teacher in Alaska. And I've got a picture cut out of a newspaper. Some photographer from the Anchorage Times went down and took a picture of first grade class with Mrs.
okay.
Cornish, and there I am, sitting next. I was always a year ahead of everybody because my birthday's in January.
Oh,
They
right.
would they
Yes.
wouldn't let me they wouldn't let me go in as at 5 years old and turn 6. No, you had to go in. You had to be 6 either at the time you entered first grade or within like a month or two. And mine was like 6 months after school started. So um, I was 6 going on 7, and I
Okay.
had been reading. I'd been reading since I was like 3 or 4, and so I got into first grade. I was at least 6 months ahead of most of the kids. I was a good reader, and she made me a bluebird reader. I still remember that.
Oh, yeah.
So I was a bluebird reader, and like a teacher's pet. And she was a pretty girl, teacher, Mrs. Carnage, and I just fell in love with her, and still remember her. And
Oh,
and then as far and the rest of my teachers were nothing compared to her. She was the on the top of the mountain. She was a goddess, and
Ah,
I had I had some other teachers. I had like when I was in the fourth grade. And this was in Georgia. In the fourth grade, we had Mrs. Davis, and she was just a matronly looking lady, probably in her early 50s, late 40s, and a little overweight, and kind and bossy, not really a loving person. And because of the Air Force Base being right there was 56 kids in my fourth grade class,
wow.
and she did not have control over those kids. They were crazy. We were wild men, and so her solution. She had a flyback paddle. Flyback is a rubber. It's a ball on a rubber band with a
Yeah,
paddle,
those
and
things are
the
fun.
whole idea is to keep the ball going. And she took the ball and the rubber band off of the flyback paddle, and that was her killer instrument there. And she was so bad that she would make us paddle ourselves. You have been bad. Here, take this paddle and give yourself 3 licks. Okay. Uh, 1, 2, 3. Oh, 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 that's hurts a lot. Yeah, right.
Oh,
It
pain.
barely touched the seat of your pants. And
Oh my
then
god.
and then I had two Miss Davises. My third grade teacher was also Miss. She was Miss Davis. She was not. She was a
Hmm.
spinster, and
Okay.
Mrs. Davis was my fourth grade. Anyway, Miss Davis, she looked like the Wicked Witch of the West. I
Oh,
swear, she wore dark clothes with this big high collar and
oh,
and a scowl all the time. You be quiet, blah blah. And I'm going, oh man, third grade teacher. Yeah, she was nasty.
it's
Yeah, now
supposed to be
I
nice.
don't really. And my seventh grade teacher was Mrs. Lassiter, and her son was John David Lassiter,
Oh yeah,
and
your
he
best
was
friend.
my best friend. And
Hmm.
Mrs. Lassiter was a escaped convict. I think she was on murderer's row, and she was awful. She was big woman. She's probably close to 6 feet tall, big
Oh,
broad shoulders and big
oh,
arms. She had a paddle. It was a yardstick with holes drilled in it.
oh no.
So when she swung it, the wind resistance was negligible because of the holes in there. And she would beat the crap out of kids for the minor infractions. And
Oh,
she was worried. You'd rather go to the principal and get beaten by him than Mrs. Lassiter. The only thing that saved my life was John David was my friend. So there's several things I did that would have earned me a total beating. I never. She just
you
says,
were
"Go sit down."
saved, saved
Yeah,
by the
go sit down.
friendship.
You and John David go over and get in the back of the room and sit down. But
Wow.
she was a hideous woman. Whoa. I did not want to make her mad. So I remember her
And
in a not a very
not
good,
in a good way.
and I don't remember, and all my rest of my school. Honestly, I will be honest. I don't remember any of my teachers except for one teacher. She was my algebra teacher as when I was a freshman in high
Okay.
school in East Side High School, and she was the worst teacher ever in the history of teaching. She would say she'd come into class and she'd say, "Okay, today we're going to do page 50. The answers are in the back of the book. Start."
Man,
And she'd sit down and she wouldn't say another word. And so
that's
and then
terrible.
her test was she would hand out a piece of paper and be a bunch of algebra stuff on it, and you do that, and turn it in, and she'd never even. I don't remember even giving a test back. She was just awful, and that was my algebra. I mean, basis for all mathematics practically, and I really needed to have a high quality teacher that would get me started into that very important
Yeah,
portion of
because
mathematics. She
I
was
remember you
worthless.
telling me that it affected
Yeah,
you later when you were getting into advanced math, that the fact that you didn't have a
right.
very good solid foundation in the studies of algebra, it affected
Algebra,
your
right.
later with your, I don't remember what's the more advanced form of algebra. What is that?
Geometry and
Yeah.
solid geometry
Yeah,
and physics, chemistry. There is
a
mathematics
lot of,
involved, and I know not to extent like chemistry and stuff, and of course biology, but physics. There's a lot of math in there, and I struggled, and I had to have my fellow students help me and stuff, and fortunately, I was in a pretty good situation there. Yeah, it really crippled me, and uh, I could have just gotten, I should have just gotten tutored and just got a book and done it but I never did.
so, but you
Just
didn't. Yeah.
being a stupid kid, I never
Kind
really thought about that. That I
of.
could teach myself, but
Yeah.
I didn't. I never did that. I just struggled with math, and that affected me for the rest of my life, really. Because especially I got into the military, and they have some tests that involve mathematics and stuff, and I could do the regular plus minus stuff, but get into algebra, and I was sometimes lost. I didn't know what to do,
Yeah.
and it was because I had a really shaky algebra start. I never took algebra two. I just took algebra
Right.
one, and everything else was just it was a mixture of practical solutions and a little math.
Mhm.
And like I
Yeah.
said, I had good friends and everything to help me with like physics and and chemistry is mainly just addition, subtraction and stuff. There's no algebra really involved in most of the chemistry.
Uh,
Physics was a lot out, and so yeah,
oh,
so I'm
well,
whining right now. I whine and say because that mean old teacher, she
no,
hobbled me for the rest of my life, and I could have been another Einstein if I had a good out. No,
dang.
no, I was just mathematics was I really understood it pretty good. I was pretty logical, and I could work through a lot of this stuff, but when it came to like the laws of algebra as they apply to all mathematics, that's where I really was slipped up and really hobbled because I didn't understand the basic algebraic principles. They weren't really taught very well to me. So
Yeah.
there.
That's
Boo hoo. Wah.
hoo. Our teachers are a large influence on who we become and what our careers will be, and sometimes they
Right.
very much so fail at that at the making your future not so bright.
Well,
But
no, I could have went into other areas. I don't think I was suited to be an engineer or a physicist or anything like that. I think that was kind of the question. But I could have been biology, history,
yeah, you've done a lot of stuff.
any of the other career fields I could have went into if I'd have had a notion. But I just decided I was going to be in the military.
I've been in the
As
military. You
my
understood it
career.
the best.
I don't have any regrets about that for sure.
Yeah. And it's just we sometimes our paths just go the way that they need to go. And I mean there's a lot of things that
Yep.
would not have happened if you had not gone in the military. So A lot of things. So we're gonna have a little bit of a shorter video today because I need to run my computer to a computer expert to see if we can unencrypt my pictures and videos. Fix the damage that has been done by the horrible Trojan horse that my computer downloaded. But I do have one more question to ask you before we end, and we'll wrap
Okay.
up. Fun little. I always like going back into your school years because you have so many fun stories, and it was very much so a large part of your life. Um, one of the questions was, can you share a memory of a school event or activity that you were involved in that you really liked, that you enjoyed?
Well, I wasn't in any course when I was in Georgia. There was no extracurricular stuff at all. So anything that I was involved in was as part of the regular school, and I really didn't know. And in high school, at East Side High School in Wisconsin, well, I was in college prep course, which would enable you to finish your 4 years of high school in 3 years.
Mm,
And the last year, you would be actually enrolled in college courses. By the time you graduate from high school, you'd have most of your freshman year of college done. And I was
okay.
in that track. And so as a freshman, I was in sophomore biology. As a sophomore, I was in junior chemistry, and as a junior, I was in physics. And my math was, I'd taken geometry, plane geometry, and solid geometry, and I was in my junior year. They didn't have enough books to go around to have everybody doing the same thing. So they had the
Right.
first semester of my junior year, I was taking trigonometry, and I was going to take algebra 2 the second semester. Well, I moved to Arkansas. So when I got to Arkansas, I said I was taking trigonometry, and they put me in senior advanced math,
Mm.
which is like calculus. And I didn't even know it was a
Did
totally
you,
weird thing for me. And
did
so
you
I
have any
blew
activities
that.
that
And
you
they
did
so they
when,
recycled me and gave me a second chance, and I failed that too. So senior advanced math was a total blowout for me.
yeah,
And they didn't have a trigonometry class, and so yeah, Arkansas crippled me uh, scholastically, and there was no college prep in Arkansas.
yeah,
So yeah, it was not a good deal, but I survived, and I went in. Like I said, I went in the military anyways. In advanced math, I could probably go to. By the time I got into college or into my senior year, I probably would have taken calculus. I
yeah,
think that's what it was Calc 1 and 2 was your senior year of math if you were on the college prep thing.
right.
So they were on a
Yes.
different level.
Yeah,
And
they
I was
definitely were.
taking, when I got to Arkansas, I got into my English classes and stuff. I was doing stuff as a senior that I had done as a freshman in Wisconsin.
Right.
Seriously. Yeah. They were way behind the national average. Arkansas has never been,
They've never been the top of the scholastic.
yeah.
Definitely
Yeah,
not been
they're,
the top of the food chain when it comes to any kind of
yeah,
scholastics or
yeah.
scholarly study.
Oh, that's okay.
So, okay. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us today. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share with your family and friends. And as always, please be safe out there, especially on the roadways. We will see you next week.